All right, it is Sunday, April 30th. And you know what that means. It is the last day of my Plein April series where I go out every day in the month of April and do a little gouache painting in a sketchbook. So come along with me as I do my last painting. I'm hanging out in my front yard and I'm going to paint my dogwood. So let's see how it turns out, shall we? So if you watched my video from yesterday, you will see that this is actually not the last spread in my sketchbook. I accidentally skipped this page. This is supposed to be for yesterday, but I'm just gonna keep on painting because that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna get this palette mud green. So whenever I leave colors in my palette, I then call it mud. Sometimes it's not really mud. Sometimes it's really pretty colors. And so I'm just going to use this to block in some greenery. And once again, I am doing this without sketching it first. Just going to go for it. It is breezy, so my subject is bouncing around everywhere, which isn't the end of the world. It's just takes more to focus on. And then this section is actually down here, but I can paint it a little bit higher up because that's the beautiful thing about painting. You can change things around a little bit. There. So this dogwood is really pretty. And it's so handy it's pink because, look, I have pink paint. Let's mix this up nice and good. Alright, mixed up nice and good. I'm looking at the shapes of each petal, and then I'll worry about getting the details of the petals, like the layerings and stuff. Some of these petals are kind of like sticking straight up. They might have been influenced by this breeze. Who knows? Actually, yeah, this one was influenced. Now it's a different angle. But I'll just keep it with that because part of plein air painting is sticking with the lighting and possibly how the wind blows things, I guess. Just trying to look at my subject more than my paper. It is a lot more difficult than you think. Like, okay, getting lost a little bit. Here we are. This one's going to be cropped. That's okay. Crop it a little bit, add maybe a little more interest, who knows. Okay, those are my blooms right now. Clean my brush, splatter some water around, clean that up. And then I'm gonna do a wash in the background. We'll just use this guy up here. some water to my brush, really wash it out like watercolors. Fade it out with water instead of adding more white. Because gouache, you can also just add more white and that will lighten colors as well. But you can also do this watercolor effect, which I have a preference for watercolor because that's what I normally do. Try and get close to the line without reactivating the gouache. Ooh, got a little gouache there, that's okay. Let's do kind of like a vignette where it's like darker on the edges. And I have the paper clipped down because otherwise it'll get all curly and roll up and it won't be as nice of a spread with curly pages. Add more water, dilute the color directly on the paper, push the pigment around. Oops. There we go. Just flood this with water. There. Okay, I'll add a little more color here. I guess that green was still a little wet. We'll let it do its thing, because why not? Okay, I'm going to grab my titanium white. And the middle of the dogwood flowers are white. So start getting those in. Okay, I want to try and keep this more loose, just like yesterday's painting, not get super uptight about some details. So I'm going to add red to this kind of purpley red mixture from yesterday as like my deep colors. And just get these in as the shadows. I find a lot of times for paintings, it always looks better when you have like a mid color, a highlight, and like a nice dark rich shadow. So that's what kind of like what I got going on here. Mid color, which is the pink, the highlight, which is the white, and this nice dark color. I'm going to add some more red to here and play around with the vibrancy. I'm just resting my pinky finger on the paper very lightly to help me guide my paintbrush position. I have to be careful I don't put it down where the paper has a lot of wet paint. The wind is picking up yet again. blend this out a little bit more. Clean my brush off. And now, since everything's drying, I'm going to work on the twig part, so the branches. So add some burnt sienna to over here. Get a little more of it dark in there. The background is mostly dry, so I can work on this part. And it's okay if the stems and stuff go off the paper. So the main stem kind of goes up there. Get some dark color. Add it in. Okay. The sun is going down, so I'm making this kind of quick. But sometimes the quick paintings can be your best ones. I've heard that you want to stop painting when you're about 80% done, and I think when you're about 80% done you want to stop because you might become 120% overworked. So leaving some things a little unfinished can really help keep it light and fresh. I'm going to grab my other brush. So I got my little size 4 round brush in my set, and I'm going to get some of the white. Try not to have much water in my brush. This might still be a little wet though. But I can do like some veining of the petals. Kind of show some structure of the petals. A little bit of dry brush maybe even. Dragging some of the color different places. Okay. I need to take a little break and let these dry, so I will see you in just a moment. My paint's still a little wet, so I'm just going to take my paper towel and dab up the extra, because that's what I would do with watercolors, because I don't want it super watery right now. I want it a little more dry. Alright. I try to give it time to dry, but it's cooling off this evening, so I need to get rolling on this. I got my yellow, put it here. A little green with it. And these are like where the bees would hang out, I'm guessing. Add a little definition to the little dogwood blossoms. I wonder if the dogwood, if the petals for these blooms are technically like part of a leaf structure. I don't know. And now I'm gonna rinse my brush really good, get it as dry as possible, and get in that titanium white. Okay, let's really get some white in here. A little dry brush, more white. more white. And then, like yesterday, let's do some black line work. I keep referring to yesterday. If you haven't seen my video from day 29, here it is. I'll link it for you so you can see it. So you know what the heck I'm talking about. So, let's do some white, not white, black outlines a little bit. And I vary the brush stroke, so how much pressure I do or do not have on my paintbrush will help vary how thick or thin the line work is. That's a little thicker than I wanted it, but that's a-okay. I want to show little folds on this flower especially. A little more water to help the paint flow a little more evenly. I should probably do a little bit of that to the leaves as well. Let's see. Feel like a little bit more is needed there. All right. You know what? This just feels awkward. It needs to go over that a little bit. That's less awkward now. So we can just get pure color. Very little water. Drop it in a little bit here and there. Oh no, blurry. Focus. There we go. So I'm just getting more of the yellow and just trying to drop it in. It's pretty wet right now. Hard to make defined little areas. But I'm not too concerned today about being super detailed. So this is the last day of my Plein April series. Well, thank you so much for coming along with me as I did my last Plein April challenge where I go outside and paint. So it's a little bittersweet, but today was the last day of Plein April. So thank you so much for coming along with me. Up next will be a video about all the supplies I used for the entire month of April for my Plein April challenge, along with the paints I used. So you can see what colors I use, the paintbrushes, the sketchbook, pros and cons I have learned about this whole process. So make sure to subscribe, and when you hit that little bell notification, you will get notified when that video is available for you to view. I hope today and this entire month of daily painting plein air has inspired you to get out and try plein air yourself. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.